If you don't put the foot in the clutch, you'll break shit. This CV joint's just freaking explode.
Welcome to the first episode of the Torque Motorsport Show, podcast from Grease Monkey Games, bringing you behind the scenes and under the hood of motorsports and video games. I am your host, Billy Sullivan, the COO here at Grease Monkey Games. And with me, I have Aaron Potter, the founder and director of GMG, kicking off the first ever episode. It's been a long time in the works.
I've been asking for this forever.
And here we are, episode one. We're going to just do first episode, me and Aaron chat and shop, talking about Grease Monkey Games, kind of the history, what we've built here, and Torque Motorsport as well, and the games we've been making.
Yeah, we always talk. We talk a lot, so
we do talk a lot.
It'd be good to change our kind of direction and tone, and
and record some of it, and hopefully some people out there find it interesting. If not, then give us an excuse to sit down.
We can
only try. That's right. So, I guess defining Grease Monkey Games and Torque Motorsport makes a lot of sense to start. What is GMG? We used to call it League of Monkeys back in the day. It's kind of a bit of a history.
Yeah, it goes back a bit. I guess how far do you want to go back? Should we start at the beginning, or?
I think because I wasn't around when League of Monkeys actually started. So I think, I've heard this a lot from you. I've known you for a long time, but the listeners will assume they know nothing. So how did League of Monkeys start, and what's the kind of story? Why'd you start the company?
Cool. So, I come from a visual effects background, and I used to do commercials. I did some film work, not much, and
photography and
So originally, I did photography even before uni, straight out of high school. It was a family business, and I really enjoyed it. I started doing some design work. And then from there, I got into 3D graphics and doing visual effects and stuff. And so I used to do commercials. I used to work for a pretty amazing company in Melbourne called Allura, but they've changed their name to Method now. But so I come from a visual effects background, and I'm a very visual person. And before Grease Monkey Games, League of Monkeys, I was working freelance. So I had left the industry, working a job, and started doing freelance. And I did that for about 4 years, and I had some amazing clients, and I think I did some pretty impressive work, and life was pretty sweet. And then one day I started making games with my brother as well. So he was making games. He was very early on. So I'm talking, one of his first games was Footy Flick. In Australia, we have
I remember playing Footy Flick when I was in high school. Yeah, I don't know if it was your brother's game, but I imagine there would be a lot of clones of that.
He was one of the first.
Wow.
And he did really well out of it. And my brother comes from a visual effects background as well, and he used to work at Holden in Melbourne, which is GM in the States. And he was doing brochures and all the visuals and stuff. So he did that for about 10 years. And him and one of the guys that used to work for him started up a small studio, and they started making games. So Footy Flick was one of the first one. And pretty much when he released Footy Flick, he quit his job and just started making games. And I was doing stuff. So I was, capable of modeling in 3D and things like that. And basically, I started working for him and making games, and we did a couple of games together. This is going back so far. This is 13, 14 years ago, and all mobile games, and basically, I wanted to start making games myself. So a guy that I used to work with, we've been friends for a long time, worked at multiple companies together. I said to him, "Are you interested in making games?" And he was, and basically we just kind of made it happen. And when I talk about made it happen, I'm talking about we got a warehouse, we got a couple of IKEA desks, and sat in. It's kind of funny, the photo, because
there's a few old photos.
We're like literally sitting in the corner, and there's just us two, and we just started making it was a car game back then. It was a street racing game. CSR was huge back then, so we started to make a game like that, and like way too ambitious, like just ridiculously ambitious.
Like all good game projects, they start with a crazy scope.
Yeah, so basically we built it up from just us two. We hired a couple of people. Because I was doing freelance and I had some good clients, we started doing some service work as well. And you know, there was some big companies who were working for Honda and Nissan and Mazda, I think, back then. And we were doing stuff for auto installations. That was kind of our very early kind of work. We were very successful. So we could have easily done that for like just kept going with that.
Just wasn't scratching that itch.
Yeah, and then so we started making a game on the side. And the funny thing was, we were making this complex game. All right, it was like way too over the top. And so we put some physics in it, and we had a couple of staff at that time. I think we had three staff. There was 5 of us, wildly overestimating our capabilities. And we found the fun part was just doing donuts in the car. And if anyone doesn't know what a donut is, in Australia, it's like doing burnouts. Okay, in burnouts in Australia is very different to burnouts in America. Burnouts in Australia is they take like a 1,000 to 2,000 horsepower car, this massive honking engine sticking out the front of the bonnet, and they just absolutely shred tires. They absolutely kill tires. They send it like they launch into the skid pad, and they're doing like 360s, and there's so much smoke you can't even see the car. It's ridiculous. If no one knows what Australian burnouts are, Google it. It will blow your mind, because those guys are just insane.
There's a viral video. I think it's Cranky, the orange Ute, or no, it's not a Ute, but it's a coupe. It's on fire.
Yeah,
just at the burnout line, it went like viral in the US.
And fire in motorsports is a bad thing, but in burnouts, you're onto a winner. So if like their tires catch on fire, their cars often catch on fire, and then they get out and the crowd just goes crazy. Everyone's cheering, and it's just awesome.
It's funny because like when the car's on fire, they've literally just like it's probably costing them tens of thousands of dollars, like in engine,
tens of thousands of dollars easily,
and they're just having a ball.
Yeah, and so we realized that doing burnouts in the game was the fun thing. Okay, so basically our ambitious game, we decided to pivot and make a burnout game, and we did that in 2015. So League of Monkeys opened in 2013, and we released our first game at the end of 2014, early 2015, and that was TorqueBurnout. And it was way more achievable. So we were able to make it happen, and basically it did so well that we just stopped doing service work. Yeah, we just kind of dropped all like. And we had clients, and the clients were not necessarily happy about it. And we haven't really looked back, to be honest, because if not many people know, working freelance is, or even having a small company and having like one client, there's a lot of pressure. So they always want more than what they're willing to pay for. So that's an issue that everyone faces. And then once you finish the job, it's like see you later. And you have to chase the money. So the money's never it's never always there. It's not consistent, and it's quite a difficult business structure basically. Having clients is quite difficult. And once you finish a job, everyone's happy. but then you got to align the next job, and so it just gets a little bit trickier.
It's paycheck to paycheck on a larger scale.
Yeah, it is. And there's also a bit of a race to the bottom. So what I mean by that is they always want more than what they're willing to pay. That's one thing. And then there's other companies who will underbid you or something. So there's a bit of a race to the bottom. Where gaming's a little bit different. So you go from having one client to having millions of clients. Okay, so and millions of clients is kind of fun. It's like some people might know what it's like, but passive income is great where you make something and you make a game and you release it. Whether 10 people play it or 1 million people play it, there is some economy of scale that you've got to kind of work out where server issues and things like that. But it's much easier to scale it and make more money. So
cost of replication is very low.
Yeah, it is. And so we started making games, and oh my god, it's just so much fun. Yeah. And then you joined Greek Games.
Yeah, where was that? I don't know. I was looking at it this morning. I'm like, hell, I keep jumping into meetings, and the amount of time I say that I'm at this company just seems to go up way higher than it actually has been. But
no,
it's been about 7.5 years.
7.5 years. It's crazy. So you were really young. You were like, was it 19 or 20?
Yeah,
I remember
19 or 20.
That is amazing. Yeah. That is amazing. And so we were originally called League of Monkeys. There was a bit of a monkey thing going on in Melbourne, and there is still, because we are Grease Monkey Games. And then in 2018, we changed our name to Grease Monkey Games. We wanted to be more of a motorsport.
I have a bit of a story behind this, actually, because I remember when this happened, when we were changing our name, and you were like, you wanted to do a rebrand, but I remember we were in the lead up to the launch of Torque Drift, and I'm like, really, Aaron, you want to do a company rebrand like now? But it actually made sense in the end, because Torque Drift, having that out as the new company worked out in the long run. But I remember at the time I'm like, so much to do, and we're doing a company rebrand, and we're getting this game out and like all this stuff. But you look back on all those things that we kind of like got together, and they were successful. So
didn't you make a Pokemon animated GIF where it's kind of like we evolved or something?
Yeah, I made that because I'm like, I know like I know if I go and ask Aaron if I can make this during work hours, he's gonna say no, so I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah,
and it was pretty funny. But I wanted to ask, going back to the like trying to think of questions that I don't know the answer to.
Sure,
it was hard because I've known you for a while. But before, you said you made games with your brother. They're all motorsport related. So was there like a time when you're like, what games do we make? And then you decide on motorsports, or was motorsports always motorsports and cars always part of your life where it was kind of a no-brainer and you just wanted to explore that?
The commercials, obviously car commercials is quite a large part of the industry of visual effects. So I actually had worked on multiple car commercials, I think about 5 or 6 of them, maybe even more, over the years. So I was quite comfortable working in that space and working with kind of high-end clients and car manufacturers. And I'm also into cars as well too. But like if I had to think about like a different genre that I would have gone into apart from cars, I'm like a massive retro gaming fan, like Street Fighter and like fighting games. I love sideways scrollers and things like that. I think are really cool, and maybe one day I'll venture into that space. Yeah.
And so going from TorqueBurnout, I'll obviously jump in here at some stage, but TorqueBurnout, raging success in Australia, everyone loves it. And then we go, and deciding the next game to make is always kind of one of the hard things in game dev. And I remember the period between TorqueBurnout and the next game starting, you were doing a lot of research into, you know, what is a motorsport that we as a small company, indie company, can really tap into, that is global, is young, and like, what was your thought process around looking for that? Did you know of drifting? Had you kind of seen it around, or what was that process?
There weren't many drift games on the mobile store, the app stores, and drifting it's such a youthful motorsport, and it's super exciting. So when you think about all motorsports outside of drifting, in general, it's like a race from start to finish, and sometimes these races go for hours. NASCAR, you know, Formula One, and so over those 2 hours, there's moments of action, okay, and so like there might be an overtake point, or something happens in a chicane, or there's an accident or something like that.
And that's what they put in the Netflix series.
You know, of course. You know, it's like they're trying to take the fun,
super like saturated. Yeah.
Whereas drifting, it's like it's on. Do you know what I mean? It's like from the minute they start, the races are really short. They aren't even called races. It's battles. So you battle against someone else. And it's about precision, speed, angle, style. So there's so many elements that really kind of lend itself to gaming. And because it's a young motorsport, so when you think about all the motorsports that are out there, all the really well-established ones have been around for a long time. And drifting is a relatively young sport. So, you know, when I'm talking young, it started in the 80s, illegally in Japan. And it's built its way up to being full competitions that happen all throughout the world. So yeah, I thought about a different motorsport game that we could make, and drifting really kind of ticked all the boxes, and plus gave me a great excuse to buy a drift car myself.
But it wasn't like for TorqueBurnout, you know. We both attended a lot of Burnout events, and it's very exciting. It's over the top, but we never went out and did Burnouts ourselves. So, you know, with the new game, you're like, we're going to buy drift cars, we're going to drift, and we're going to go do it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why we're so passionate about making it, you know, a second drift game, is because we like drifting.
I will say this: we were super shit at drifting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, yep. I bought this car, which I still have. The BRZ is the first drift car I bought, and it wasn't a drift car. It was like a stance. It was like a show car.
Gotta cut to some footage of it.
I spent way too much money on this car. All right, I bought it off this guy, and he was so passionate about this car. And there's some videos. Maybe we could,
I'll
post a link or something. And
it was so
I bought this car. I said to my wife, I said, we're making a drift game. I want to buy a drift car, and there were no objections.
Little did she know.
And I literally bought it within a week. So, and I think I spent way too much for a drift car. And what it looks like now, there's some crazy Instagram that Gavin made, some TikToks that show the condition.
It's seen some.
Oh shit! Damn! What the fuck? Bullshit! I don't need this shit. Oh man, no!
Yeah. But it is freaking amazing. It is amazing. It is so awesome driving that car. And so we went out. We did a couple of drift events. That was like training, learn to
drift. You know, do donuts around a cone, do a figure eight,
pull the handbrake and stuff like that. So we started doing that. Our tires on the rear were way too big, way too much grip.
It was like full stance show vibes in this BRZ, and we rock up to the drift day. Everyone's like, "What? What is going on?"
And so we went out on the skid pad a couple of times, and the car had it was turbo BRZ aftermarket turbo, and it definitely had the power, so that wasn't an issue. We didn't have the skill, and we hadn't set it up right at all. So basically, we just blew everything up.
Was the diff, the CVs multiple times?
Yeah, multiple times.
The engine's been fine.
Lots of times the pipe's blown off and you just lose. And like we did stupid things like we cut through some cables and it disabled the ABS and then the car goes into limp mode. And
I remember we did an event and we cut through that and couldn't drive the car, and then we went and sourced like a cable on the day. Yeah. Got the car back out there from a wreckers.
So it's been a massive learning curve, but it's been awesome. So I spent too much money on this car, and we broke it a lot. I think the diff didn't we break it at colder?
Yeah,
and you had to drive it.
And I drove it home,
and it just sounded like someone had dropped a wrench.
Yeah. Into
the engine. It was into the diff, but it was just like metal on metal. Clunking and like you had to go on the freeway and stuff. It was just crazy.
I'm like, something's gonna fly through the bottom of the floor, and it was a bit sketchy, but you know,
I'm pretty sure you were on your P's then too.
I was on my P's.
Driving a turbo
drift car that just came out of the events with like anyway, things were done that should not be done. But yeah.
And so from there we basically we changed a lot of things. I have a couple of friends that are mechanics, and the deal was I let them drive my car and then they would fix up the car for me. So I think it was a good deal. I think they thought it was a good deal as well. And so that's been awesome. So there's been a bunch of stuff done to it. So we put steer angle kits on the front, which made a massive difference. We just couldn't hold angle at the start at all. We were doing burnouts. This is what we should have done when we were doing the burnout game. But and just doing the wrong thing all the time, just breaking shit.
So it's a Part Shop Max angle kit on the front.
Yep.
And then that's now on E85.
Yep, we put on E85. It was overheating a bit too.
We had that little button on the dash to spray the oil coiler.
Yeah,
the oil.
I know. We turned the windscreen wiper fluid, into cooling the intercooler. So we did a bunch of hacks, and I was running 18-inch wheels on the back, and they were just too big and too wide. And now we just run 17s, which looks hilarious. The car is like leaning.
Yeah, there's so many people in the comments are like, fix the stance. It's like, no, it's a drift car. Like, it doesn't matter. The car
still rips it. It completely rips it. It's just amazing. It just shreds tires.
It shreds. Yeah.
And everyone who gets into it gets into the car and has a drive, gets out and goes, that was really good. I remember Jeff, he's one of the
down. You got the jumper on
down DC. There you go, the boys. So Jeff, he organised a lot of events for us to learn, and he would take us out and he would kind of teach us. I said, "Do you want to have a drive?" And he's like, "Yeah, all right." He said, "I don't really like, 86s or BRZs," and he was in the car, I reckon, for about 10 seconds, and he just freaking sent it, and he was like running the whole wall, and like half a meter, not at all, like the whole way, and I was just sitting at the side going, "Oh my god!" I'm like, it's not the car, it's like it's completely me, And he gets out and he goes, "Oh, that was freaking awesome." So basically, I do let a lot of people drive the car, which is fine. It's the purpose of it is to have fun, to learn a drift. And we've had some guys here take the car out. There are some rules, obviously. It's like if you pull a handbrake,
put the clutch in.
Just if you don't put the foot in the clutch, you'll break shit. Your CV joints just freaking explode, and that's what happened a lot at the start. So people just not knowing how to drive. So, no, it's like making a drift game is it's creative and fun. But it's just like, it's something that we're really into. And we also think that the industry as a whole has never really done drifting exceptional. It's always been like a side thing of any game. Even like, Assetto Corsa is a very popular drifting game. But it's not a drift. It's not a drift game. It's a racing game that people have made mods for. So yeah, basically I want to make a really good drift game that drifters will want to drive in, and that we can, when we leave an event and then jump onto the sim here, it feels the same.
Yeah,
that's what I want. Yeah.
And so from that, in 2018, we made Torque Drift was released, and then so that was on mobile.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we've been updating that ever since. Same with TorqueBurnout. We released Torque Drift on PC, which was interesting. It was the first kind of move to PC with crossplay.
It's like the numbers are not very huge. Initially, we had an early access. It was like $15 or $20. That was really to kind of support us making the game, and then we made it free to play. And it's it's done really well. Like, it's been able to support the company and allow us to grow the company. So, when I was talking about work, Paul and I, which is my old business partner, when we set up League of Monkeys, was 2 of us. Then we got to 5, and like now we're at 40. So things have really moved on, and we've been able to grow. And Animoca Brands is our new partners and have acquired Grease Monkey Games, and that is
start of the year.
That happened this year. And that to me was like, it was really like it was like a pinnacle moment in like everything that we've been doing, and it really justified all our hard work over the years to even have these conversations with these amazing companies, and now we're part of them basically. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy to think from the start, as the company's kind of growing and where it is now, and just even the amount of people that know of the games, which is pretty insane. TorqueBurnout and Torque Drift, across both of them, had around 45 million downloads, which is it's hard to imagine that many people.
It is. It is like, sometimes I think about that, and it's really awesome that people all over the world get to play our games. We do extremely well in Russia and Brazil, just like crazy well. And when I mean well, I mean a lot of people play. They don't spend much money, but I think it is quite humbling to make these deals happen and have these certain, sign certain partners and working with brands and stuff like that. It's just crazy awesome. Like, I was just saying the other day, I won't tell you the company that was, but it was a car manufacturer, and it's like the COO of the car manufacturer had a contract on their desk which has my signature on it as part of Grease Monkey Games, and they have to countersign it. It is amazing that this company of 40 is working with a multi-billion-dollar company. It's just crazy to me, and exciting all at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, moving on from Torque Drift, we decided to make a sequel to the game, Torque Drift 2, and I think there was a lot of things that we learnt from Torque Drift. Like, as we build our games, we're creating kind of bigger and bigger titles with kind of ever more refined features and whatnot. And I think it's really is a privilege in a lot of ways to be able to have another go at drifting and create, the ultimate version of what we think it can be, with, a bigger team, different game engine.
a more skilled team
Yeah.
and with experience, and some of the tech that's coming out is amazing. So like when you look at like Unreal 5, oh my God, it's just, I think as far as, you know, for developers, we're very much in a golden age where anything is possible. You can make, you know, very high quality games. And you just have to have the right attitude and the right ambition. Yeah.
I think if we want to jump to questions, I got one for you.
Sure. I have some for you too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm nervous. No. What do you think, like, because everyone has their own idea of what people in games do. Usually it's something, you know, oh, you play games all day. But what would you say as a business owner and someone who's grown the company to this size and been in it for such a long time? What do you think is the biggest misconception around, you know, running a company within games or just media?
I think firstly I'll say is I don't anywhere near play enough games. That's like time is very limited, but I should play a lot more games than what I do. And it's funny because when I was working in visual effects, when you go to a movie with high quality visual effects, you watch the movie differently. Okay, so you watch it and go, oh my God. Not, oh my God, that's a great movie. You are, oh my God, those visual effects are just insane. And so, you know, King Kong, or like I have a bunch of friends that work for Weta, and some of the stuff that they produce is just mind blowing.
You know too much about the process.
I know too much. I know behind the curtain. So I respect it in a different way, and it bloody ruins the movies. So, and so when I think about that, but gaming's the same. So when I make a game, and when I play a game, someone else's game, I see it from a developer's point of view, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. You know what I mean?
Or that's really hard. That would take ages.
Yeah,
like that's
Oh, and I start to pull it apart. So when I play games, it's very much to analyze, you know, how it's built and things like that. And I think it's a little bit sad that I don't enjoy as many games as what you would think, and I'm pretty tough on a bunch of them. Some of them have done, you know, immensely well, way more than what we've obviously done. But I'm still critical, and you know that's just like that's part of my personality. Yeah,
I'm the same. Like I used to play a lot more games, but I just find it difficult to get. Plus, you know, getting into a game, I kind of have a bit of an addictive personality. So if I get into a game, I'm playing it for like a lot, and I just don't have that time. And
yeah,
so I got to be careful with myself. It's almost like a defense mechanism, being like, if you get into this game, Billy, you're kind of screwed.
I've got two older boys, and they play everything, and they play it through. So I get to see games from start to finish, and see it's like just watching them play.
Just backseat driving.
Yeah, backseat driving. Occasionally they let me play, but yeah, it's cool. So I have a question for you, Billy. So I think you asked similar to me, but if you weren't like, forget motorsport games, if you wanted to make a game, what type of game would you make? Yeah.
I really like mundane things. Like I'm really fascinated. I have a whole bunch of game ideas that we've talked over lunch and stuff like that. But like things like something around ants, you know, like I find ants really fascinating, and I just I'm sure there's something there that would be really fun to make. Or during lockdown, I'm like, I find it fascinating, like dog parks, you know, just like dogs running around, and like there's like really interesting connections there that I find a lot of depth in. So I kind of tend towards
like first person.
Well, I can't just give you all my game ideas. This is on the record.
I don't have any time to make more games.
Yeah, like things based on real life and kind of playing with playing with real life and mixing them and adding a bit of like spice to them, I think is what I kind of am attracted to. Yeah. I got unless you have any other questions.
I was going to ask. Like you chose League of Monkeys, Grease Monkey Games. Why? You know what I mean? What did you see that made you want to work for this company? Because you've been here. You're the longest standing staff member here, and yeah, I'm just interested to know what kind of the motive was. And
I'd love to like say that it was super special, and in some ways, the company was. I found it very interesting, and especially once I got in. But I was just applying everywhere.
So it was like default.
It was like I was at university. I was like making stuff, and I just wasn't getting like the I guess fulfillment or the I wasn't getting as much push from it as I wanted, and I'm just like, I just need to get out there and see what it's actually like instead of kind of learning about it. And I also I wasn't in a game specific course. So like my university course was animation and interactive media. So I was like the interactive media person of that course. Everyone else was doing, it's a very well-known 2D animation course. But I was just like, I need more people who are doing this stuff. I need to be around them. So I was just applying everywhere and trying to be creative in how I was noticed. And I'm from there.
There's like sliding door moments. You know what I mean? Like you could have got a job elsewhere, but I think obviously you were very enthusiastic and when you joined the team and you basically tackled anything, which is how you've kind of worked your way up to being COO, which is crazy for someone your age. But I think, it's definitely credit where credit's due. You've worked really hard and you've kind of owned it. So good stuff. I guess, I try and think about like the future a lot. Like, I'm not a young person in this game in this kind of industry anymore. So I try and work. I always thought, when am I going to be doing this when I'm 70? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to be sitting at a computer, 3D modeling or something? I used to always think about. Obviously, I don't 3D model anymore. I have stuff.
You'd be like, will I be doing spreadsheets when I'm 60? No.
Yeah, no. So to really kind of swing back on your question earlier, where you said, what's my
misconceptions? Yeah.
What's my day-to-day tasks basically, and misconceptions of someone in my position. So basically, I do a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people don't realize. A lot of my staff don't realize. Kind of there's a lot of meetings happen often, but day-to-day operations. I like doing. I like doing like hands-on stuff too still. So when I'm talking about running the studio, so setting things up, building things. I still do some IT here, which is both stupid and also fun sometimes. But it gives me a chance to kind of check out a little bit and just do something, do something different. But I think so. My main task would be to really kind of gauge the vibe of the studio and who's working on what, and provide advice and some answers for questions that need to be answered. And really kind of steer the ship. That's really kind of what I think my position is. And as we get bigger, I get to steer less and less. So it is weird. Like, you would imagine that, like, obviously you hire more staff and very experienced staff, and then they start, they're going to be steering their own ship. So it's weird. I think I heard this saying, it's like the higher you are, the less you work. And I used to think that when I was young. There's like CEOs don't do anything. Obviously, that saying is a misconception because it's not true. But it's just different kind of work. But basically, so
your decisions have a lot more impact. So it's like less amount of things to do, which have higher impact on the larger, like the business as a whole.
And I think as far as like mental capacity, and it's like I'm always on. It's like it's ridiculous. I'm not. We have our new owners, Anime Brands, they're in Hong Kong, so they're a couple of hours behind us. But we're very much an international company, so we have meetings at like 11 at night and 1 in the morning or whatever, and like, but aside from that, like I'm always on. So when I'm lying in bed, I'm thinking about work or thinking about solutions, and like often I'll put like to-do lists on my phone and stuff like that, just because things build up. And yeah, so
and I think like maybe from the outside that sounds really horrible, but at the end of the day, for myself as well, and I know for you, this is much more than a 9 to 5. This is
definitely
like a greater kind of piece of work. There's a lot of passion that goes into these kind of products and what we do. So it's not like, have a late meeting. It's like whatever. Like it doesn't.
I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. I think this is we are the creators, and like you can say we're the digital gods, and we can make whatever pops into our head, and we get to be creative every single day. And I think that in itself is just amazing. I definitely don't. I wouldn't want it any other way, and I enjoy what I do. I love coming to work, and I love seeing what gets made. It's just you walk around the studio, and because as you get bigger, you realize I just mentioned before people are doing things that you might not be across and things like that, and then you see it later and you're just like, oh my god, that is amazing. So that is super exciting. It's like I get to live vicariously through other people and get my creative kick through the staff. Yeah, which is amazing. So yeah, because in the end, it's not. I'm not making it. You know what I mean? The staff are making this game, and I have input into the vision and the idea of it, but everything you see is everyone downstairs, and yeah.
And so I guess the other side. I'll let you take a drink.
Go.
Then I'll cut it.
No, go. That's all right.
Yes, the other side of this is Torque Motorsport, which is like a recent kind of, I guess, brand, but when you think about it, it's ultimately been something we've been aiming for since, like, I don't know, maybe after Torque Drift, I would say. It's like, okay, it's the Torque games. It's part of this greater thing than just the games themselves. It kind of live outside of that. And then it's like motorsports, and there's like car culture and community building. And so like Torque Motorsport, that's the new overarching umbrella brand for the games, but it's also media. It's providing content to interesting content that adds value to these communities that love cars and motorsports and games, like bringing everything together, which is kind of what we're trying to achieve here outside of just the games themselves.
Well, if you think about it, there's like all these deals that we make and these partners that we have. I think that's one thing I'm super proud of, is we sign incredible deals with aftermarket brands and parts and things like that. And not many games do that. And if they do it, they don't do it to the extent that we do it. So that is super awesome, because we get to promote these incredible brands, and it also adds content to the game, and the players love to interact with that content. So I think with that pedigree of brands that we sign, it makes sense to do motorsport brands, because if you think about it, signing, signing NRG, like using them in one game doesn't really make sense. It's like that aftermarket part can be used in all motorsport games. So let's extend on that deal. We've got the content, we've got the visuals, and it can So basically, Torque Motorsport is going to be doing multiple motorsports gaming, and we're just going to extend on the deals that we have, which totally makes sense. Yeah,
it's like an extension of our own passion for cars as well. It's like we can't kind of contain what we do to just games, because we want to do all these other stuff. Like we're out drifting. We want to make content and media around that. We want to talk about games and cars on a podcast, and we want to do all this other stuff. So we had to, find a good place to sit that. Really keen to see where it takes us, because there's a lot of things we can kind of do with this.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a large part of our focus moving forward, and making a lot more media, a lot more content. And I think, I've said it before, watch this space, because we are pushing it. And I'm excited for the future. Yeah.
So there's kind of a whole bunch of other things that we're going to be doing on this podcast. We're going to be interviewing professional drivers, car manufacturers or licensed part owners, people in the game space, which is super exciting. And we got a whole bunch of announcements that will be coming up in the next few months or weeks.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Really happy to kick this off, episode 1, and bring you all on for the journey.
If you guys have any questions in the future that you want answered, give us some good talking points. So cool.
See you all next time. Thanks.